friends, it's me, Jella, the friendly reporter. Today, I'm going to read Sailing Home. So, we're going to start now. On Saturday, it rained. The sky grew dark as night, and the air so wet you could almost drink it. No one could remember rain like that. Peter and his sister, Alice, sat watching the rain. It was restless weather with nothing to do. On Sunday, it was still raining. The roads ran like rivers, past the house and into the sea. Peter's granny, who had lived forever, sat by the door with her feet in a bucket. "Just in case the tide comes in," she said. All night it rained, and in the kitchen the cat sat on the table and watched his bowl float across the floor. Upstairs, everyone slept deep in their beds, rocked and in wonderful dreams. Peter sailed around the world. But in the morning, they all woke late to see nothing but sea. During the night, the tide had risen and carried them slowly away. But everyone climbed onto the roof to look for land. But the horizon was flat and blue, as far as the eye could see. "Where do you think we are?" said Alice. "Who cares?" said Granny. "Let's have a swim." "Never mind all that," said Peter's dad. I'm 2 hours late from work." Peter realized that he and Alice were 2 hours late for school, but he didn't say anything. For several weeks, they drifted with no sight of land. Granny swam with dolphins and fabulous creatures that circled the house, while Peter and his dad sat on the balcony and fished. Then, the last mountains appeared on the horizon. The sea grew reckless. The sun fled and the air blew wild and cold. Penguins huddled together on front veranda as a terrible hurricane carried the house past Patagonia, where ferocious rocks made the water boil and buried the mountains in mist. Patagonia, a region in South America. Wow, that's really far actually. The family sat in the dining room while a storm played with the house like a toy boat. Although they hadn't seen land for weeks and had missed the feeling of grass beneath their feet, this desolate land was no place for people. At last, the storm blew away, and they began to drift northwards. The sky cleared, the air grew warm again, and they came to rest in an empty sea where whales were singing. For 8 days, the house sat absolutely still. They saw no ships, no planes, and no balloons. If we don't do something, said Peter's mother, we could be stuck here forever. Granny couldn't see anything wrong with that. I like it here, she said. It's nice and quiet. Why don't we make a sail? Said Alice. The wind's bound to come eventually. So they took all the sheets off the bed and stitched them together. And tied them between the chimneys. Then at last, the faintest breeze caught them, and they began to move. They sailed past Tristan da Cunha, where a great volcano sat and fumed. It was such a tiny place so far from everywhere that Peter couldn't find him in his atlas. Among the beautiful islands where the sun shone all day long and the sea was as warm as a bath. They tied the house to a palm tree and set foot on dry land for the first time in months. That even they swam in turtles in a clear moonlit lagoon. Maybe we could stop here, said Granny, and be a hotel. This is not a place to stay, said Peter's mother. This is just a place to rest. So they sailed on through 1,000 tropical islands. The word went ahead, and whenever they went, people were waiting to greet them. Kings and queens sat at the table, paddling their feet in the water, and had afternoon tea. The wind turned and carried them south. They left the islands behind, and after a peaceful week of sailing, they returned home. A fleet of tiny boats towed them through the harbor, and a line of trucks pulled them ashore, until once again the house was sitting in the middle of its garden. It's going to be a bit dull here after our wonderful journey, said Peter's mother as they hung the downstairs carpet out to dry. We should have stayed in the South Sea Island, said Peter's granny. Maybe we'll go back one day, said Alice. It was a perfect autumn day, but so far out to sea. Just on the edge of the horizon was a thin line of clouds. Peter looked out of the window and watched the clouds as they rolled and tumbled against the golden sky. They rose up like dark trees when they had made a forest, they threw thin lightning into the sea and began to roll towards town. That afternoon it rained. The sky grew dark as night, and the air was so wet you could almost drink it. They all remembered the last time it rained like that. Maybe we'll go back soon, said Peter. So that is my friendly report today. So this is Jella, the friendly reporter. You better like and subscribe.